Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Well, today, the 17 governors that met in Asaba first, will be meeting again in Lagos. And this is to maybe further assess, if not reassess, decisions that were taken in Asaba. So we'll look at that, and my guest, Mr. Jide Ologun, he's a lawyer and public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you. And we also have with us our friend, Mr. Yemi Makpade, strategy and governance expert. Okay, there's it. Good morning, Yemi. Thank you very, very much for coming on with us.
Good morning, Mr. Polari.
All right, then. So, this is the second meeting in a very short order. The first one, a lot of people might have felt that it had addressed the matters that were of interest to southern governors. But since then, there have been sort of criticisms. There have been criticisms. Garba Shehu, a presidential spokesman, actually referred to the resolutions as of questionable legality. The Attorney General, he's also been saying that the banning of trying to look at this whole matter of open grazing, cessation in the South is equivalent to banning northern markets, from spare parts dealing. And the president probably didn't help matters very much, because he's been talking about ordering, I think, the Attorney General to recover those grazing routes. So give me your overview of the reason, and I'm imagining that all of these commentaries are part of the reason that another meeting has become necessary. What do you think, Yemi?
Well, good morning again, Mr. Polari, and good morning to Mr. Olukudu and our viewers. Like you rightly pointed out, the foundations are laid for this discourse. There has been some fallouts from the May 11th meeting of the southern governors. And so it is expected that a follow-up meeting is there to review some of the decisions that were taken, to look at some of the milestones that were expected to have been attained, and to also project moving forward how to accomplish and achieve some of the issues that have been raised. So this meeting is expected, and I hope it addresses the core issues that are of significance not only to southern Nigeria, but to Nigeria as a whole. Indeed.
Now, switching to you, Jide, the legal aspects, for instance, now they're talking legalisms. If a presidential spokesman has referred to some of the conclusions or resolutions as of questionable legality, and the Attorney General, is said the same as regards banning of, open grazing in the South. First of all, would you like to look at those issues, especially the whole matter about open grazing? Let's look at that. It's not the only thing, but I think it's a significant matter.
You see, open grazing is still going on in Nigeria, even in some of the states that are proposing to ban. I can speak of Ogun State. If you drive along the Long Bridge, driving out of Lagos, there's where we call the Green Belt. But that is without the violence that has accompanied this transaction in recent times. So we need to really ascertain what we are dealing with here. And of course, if states, in trying to ensure security and protect and enhance the welfare of their citizens within their constituencies, are coming up with laws to prevent violence and destruction of lives and property, and the federal government is rising against that law, there is a strong suspicion of motive there. Let me ask this simple question. Why is Kano State coming up with a law that says that mannequin will no longer be allowed for those who are into fashion business to display, because it prompts immorality in the minds of people? Why should that state embark on such laws? So for me, I think we are just being distracted by anchoring what is going on in Nigeria on grazing. It goes beyond grazing. I mean, the Fulani herders themselves came out. One of them confessed while addressing Gumi that cows don't give birth to guns, that the government gives them guns. Gun is not, even in the Bible, in Psalm 23, the shepherd holds staff, not AK-47. The president himself has alluded to it. So what exactly is going on? That you are now using a business as a cover-up to carry out the level of violence we have in the country. But I'm not even so much keen about the legality of all this.
Because the instances you cite, I think the president is not exclusive in having referred to those ones as criminal elements masquerading as genuine herders.
Exactly. And now, we are quick to say that the Nigerian Constitution gives you the right to operate in any part of the country. I quite agree with that. But I have also argued in return that when we go to the Supreme Court in Abuja, it's within the same environment with the Aso Villa. I have never gone to Aso Villa to knock on any door that, oh, I need to sleep here today, I'm a Nigerian. I can sleep anywhere in the country. We all own this country. This is our commonwealth. No, there are boundaries. There are boundaries. And by the way, when you talk about government, you look at section 14 subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended. It says that the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. So irrespective of the business that threatens the security and welfare of the people, laws must be made to regulate them. But we are almost tired of the legalistic deviations and different kinds of theories. And I'm proposing that we probably begin to engage public relations.
Okay.
The case we have...
By the way, the governors, you know, this is the arrival of governors, as we were speaking about. Here, these are live pictures, I believe. Well, the meeting is today, and certainly they're not live pictures exactly, but this was shortly earlier, so you can see that the meeting is indeed well on its way in preparation about these things we were talking about. I'm sorry to have interrupted you, but let me also take it over to Yemi. You know, from the point of view of strategy and governance, Yemi, if you can hear me, the commentary that has come as a result of the governors' meetings, there are those who might think that, wait a minute, what exactly is the strategy of government here? In the sense that these are not exactly conciliatory things. If people are, quote unquote, hurting, if people are worried, if people are apprehensive, as it were, slamming, you know, to use casual language, slamming the whole effort, you know, as a questionable legality, knowing full well why these, why talks and matters reach this area. I don't know, can you say anything about what we should be doing in terms of strategy in governance and reassuring our people and calming their apprehensions and fears?
Yes, let me just start by approaching it from this angle. You see, the reaction of the presidency or the presidential spokesperson, and of course the Attorney General of the Federation, to the resolutions of the Southern governments after their meeting on May 11, they were really unfortunate, and they underscore a lack of understanding of the strategic importance of that meeting and those resolutions. Falling into the trap of sectionalism in pursuing or in looking at those resolutions fell short of what is expected of those who occupy such strategic height, you know, in governance in the country. In the first place, the ban of open grazing was not given any ethnic coloration by the Southern government. The ban on grazing covers everyone who attempts, you know, to do open grazing. In other words, that ban will have applied to somebody who is going around with goats on the street, as much as for someone who is going around with cows, irrespective of their ethnicity or the part of the country, you know, they came from. I think those are the things that we need to start doing. And I want to assume that perhaps it is this confusion and lack of clarity that has made Mr. Olu to suggest that we begin to employ, public relations. Because we find a situation where, issues that are apparently innocuous, decisions that are apparently innocuous are taken out of context and then blown out of proportion. So for me as a governance person and as a strategy person, I want to believe that we must begin to paint the picture as leaders, especially in the public sector, public administrators, political leaders, must begin to communicate in a way that makes the people understand and appreciate the strategic importance of certain issues, and not for everyone to recede into their ethnic and religious bloodlines anytime an issue comes up. Look, we are in a world where resources are being, are sought by everyone. These resources will not go around everybody. There are those who want to get more than their fair share. There are those who will be satisfied with just the little that comes to them. But the unfortunate thing is that those who are going to be, conflict with the little that comes to them will not even have peace, because others will want more and will be willing to take it from them. So we must begin to situate our issues in the larger context of survival and dominance. And when we do that, it will be easier for us, to create a system that maintains an equilibrium in the society. Because what is actually missing is our failure, to find an equilibrium between contending interests. Everything is about interest. Everything is about ambition. Everything is about concern. So we need to begin as leaders to have a narrative that the people can relate with, and to begin to do things that will make them, look at the bigger picture rather than look at themselves in a clannish, nepotistic, or ethnic and religious manner.
Yeah. Because I wonder, first of all, what Yemi just said there, I'd like your take on it. Because, look, it didn't need for the Attorney General to be mentioning names. When you talk about, the concept of banning open grazing, there's some way in which it is related to the thought of banning spare parts trading entirely in the north. Everybody knows that the Igbos, everybody knows that they might not be exclusively, occupying that particular trade, but everybody knows that that's a specialty. That's a specialization of them. And so, unfortunately, there's this whole matter about, yes, it is not only Fulanis themselves that are herders. There are Yoruba cattle herders. There are Igbo cattle herders. Kalu, the governor, the former governor. Uzo Kalu. He said he's also a cattle rearer. He has right. So, but again, the overwhelming majority of professional herders, if there is any such thing, will be of northern, descent. So all of these colorations that are being given to what the southern governors got together to meet on in relation to the security, well-being of their zone, their region, for everyone, not just their people, but also other people, as Garba Shehu, in a different context, said, everybody, is entitled, no matter your birth, no matter where you come from. Indeed, they haven't said anything against that. But shall we remove the thorn, as it were, the thorn, the cause of the contentious part, which is that the fact that you are destroying people's farms, with herding, is causing problems. But the way it has been, I don't know if you're concerned about the way it is being presented now.
I'm particularly happy in the sense that it's prompting up issues that can help us resolve the crisis we have in the country. The motto of the country, as enshrined in the Constitution, it says unity and faith, peace and progress. So without that unity, there won't be faith in Project Nigeria, and without peace, there won't be progress. So you still see pronouncements that throw spanners at other. So and whether we deny that we don't want to be ethnocentric or whatever, these realities are there. Let's go to the public relations approach to conflict resolution. You always find conflicts in relationships. There are about 5 basic steps. You identify the source of the conflict. You look beyond the incidents. Then you begin to proffer solutions to the conflict. And you make sure the solutions are acceptable to the parties in the conflict. And you bring them to a point of agreement and you sustain that agreement. What's the conflict here now? Reportedly, we have the climate change impact in the Lake Charge region that is making it difficult for herders to engage their cattle. So they must graze across the country. Beautiful. If that is the case, can farmers accommodate them? Yes, if they will not destroy the farms, kill the farmers, rape their wives, kill their children, and overrun their communities. All right? So we can coexist.
Because all those crimes that you just spoke about have nothing whatsoever to do with herding, open or not.
Exactly.
So this is the point, really.
And
there are mechanisms, by the way. There are mechanisms for redress.
The mechanism is very simple.
Where
it's not every
cattle,
time,
impinge on someone's farm.
Sir, it's not every time you are hearing that you are listening. And that appears to be the case. We are pushing so much the interest of the herders. So where should the farmers go? And I am concerned in the sense that we have what I call economic policy drainage here. We deliberately decided to diversify the economy from the mono oil and gas economy into investing in agriculture, expanding the scope of our capacity, economic capacity, and yet we allow forces that will cripple that effort. Okay. I mean, for business...
I beg your pardon. I've just been told that, Demola Lawrence, our reporter, is... please continue.
Okay. So you now see that we have not put everything in the picture of national development. I want to agree that almost all the leaders in Nigeria have traveled abroad. Sir, if you go from the US into Canada by road, you'll be amazed when you see ranches, you see, agroeconomy. Are they killing each other there? Well, India has about 300 million cows.
Yes.
Are they killing each other there? Brazil is doing so well in this business. Are they killing each other there? And that's why I'm not sure about that. I am not persuaded that this is about cattle rearing. And I am addressing all the governors who are concerned. I'm addressing Nigerians. And we have facts and figures to support that. Okay. It goes beyond just cattle rearing. This is a distraction.
Okay. And this is what we should be very, very careful about, sort of pay particular attention to. And by the way, when you mentioned India and indeed its very, very close relationship with cows, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. Everybody, not just traffic, will give way for cows in India. That's because it has a religious connotation. So I just thought...
And that is the religious... I'm talking about killing human beings, destroying properties, destroying farmlands.
When cows have right of way, it won't even happen. We won't go there too much.
In the US, you know that deer that we kill and eat here,
yes,
you dare not hit it with your car. In fact, there are signs warning you.
Okay.
They have respect for human lives, for animal lives, for the environment. Even trees enjoy.
Okay. I mentioned Demola Lawrence. When the time comes, we'll be able to speak with him because he's a man on site there. Yemi, even though the one that seems to be the star of the show, the bill that the governors came up with, is about this whole open grazing thing. But it's not the only matter. There are also matters like restructuring, because they had a position on restructuring. They had a position on fiscal, federalism, and indeed even the call for state police. Why is it, if you agree with the notion, why is it that Abuja seems to be concerned when these matters come up? at least from the way they react, you begin to get the impression that, is Abuja unduly concerned about these matters?
Well, I think I have addressed it in my opening remarks. There is this extreme politicization of issues along ethnic lines, to the extent that we are blinded to the main issues. Now, spending a few seconds on this.
Sorry, sir. That's a problem because, look, the president is the president of all. The Ogbomoso man should see him as much his president as anybody in the north, from anywhere in the north and so on. Go around to Igbo land, anywhere. As you phrase it, which can only be as a result of your observation as a social scientist, it is what it is. Why are we, look, what happened to that notion about I am for nobody and I'm for everybody? I don't know the particular construction, giving the impression that, look, it doesn't matter where you come from, I'm the president of all, I'm gonna take everybody seriously and address the issues.
Now, if you allow me to land on my thought, really, I was going to address that. The reason why we have all of this, you see, I don't want to be dragged into characterization of individuals and groups. My concern is this: there is no logical person that sees that if you move him from this position to the next one, he is going to be better off than to continue to resist. Ordinarily, change is something that is very difficult for people to embrace. The greatest beneficiaries of grazing or of ranching, right, are going to be those who are in the business of ranching. Look, about 10 years ago, Murtala Njako, the former governor of Adamawa State, openly declared that the cattle he has in his farm, which are from, I think, Australia or Argentina, produce 13 times more beef and more milk than the regular cow that you see. Now, why do you spend resources to generate 13 times the value on just one? So these are the issues. And for me, emphasizing these issues is a bit anti-intellectual. Because when you talk about farmers and herders having issues, it is not exclusive to any part of this country. Indeed, it's not prevalent in the north. Because, the north essentially is the food basket of Nigeria, from Benue up there. So everybody is suffering from this menace. But until we begin to see it as a national malady that we need to strategically address, we will keep wasting our time on who is supporting who. Unfortunately, those who are in authority, from the president and those they are appointed, seem to also be engulfed, and overtaken by this emotion of seeing yourself from the prison of your ethnicity. And that is why it is difficult for them to look at the bigger picture. For instance, which is easier, to begin to create a system where you have branches all over the country, or to begin to reopen the so-called grazing routes, which are default. Which one is easier? Must you subject both the cow and the rearer and the shepherd, to the torture of moving from one place to the other? Do you see the typical header? They are like, so the point I'm making is this: when we begin to have a strategic view of this state, and when we begin as leaders to move people's attention to those things that are important and urgent, it will be easier for Nigeria to move forward. I feel disappointed that the Attorney General of the Federation will likely, ban on open grazing, to ban on, spare part. If he had said a ban on street trading, it could even have made some more sense. At any rate, because street trading is illegal. It infringes on so many other things. What is the spare part dealer infringing on? He pays the rent for the shop, he provides services to people, and you are comparing with somebody who enters into somebody's farm and then destroys the cattle, the the produce. So for me, we need all to go beyond this. And this is why I would address the 70,000 governors that are meeting today. They should ensure that they are statesman-like in whatever result they come out with. I have no problem absolutely with the initial resolution they came out with in Asaba in May. There was nowhere that they tried to show that they were ethnic champions. At any rate, all of those governors in the entire South represent different ethnic tendencies. So it is not a matter of ethnicity, it's a matter of governance, maintaining law and order and ensuring that there is economic progress, in economic development in this country. Okay. That should be the concern of everyone at the federal, at the state, and at all levels.
Indeed. And the governors also in the Asaba get-together, they'd also spoken about the call for state police. They'd considered that as well. That's another idea that, it looks like Abuja is not necessarily in support of. But your thoughts on that whole matter? Because the arguments for, and maybe also some arguments against, because I think the main argument against is that local leaders could misuse the police.
A wise man said, if you risk nothing, every other thing is at risk. So on the argument whether local leaders will hijack the police system at the state level, that is subject to argument. Let's now look at it. Why are people calling for state policing? Because it appears that the central policing has not effectively catered for the security needs in the country. And right now that even if you have a commissioner of police in a state, he is not answerable to the governor. Even though the governor is referred to as the chief security officer of his state, the commissioner of police takes instruction from the inspector general of police, who himself is answerable to the president. And people are saying that, no, this can be better. Now we have the ESN, the Amotekun, but can they carry ammunition like the state actors?
Can they bear arms?
Exactly. Okay. And that is why the concern comes in that shoot people carrying AK-47 at sight. You must deliberately secure this nation. And all these issues will prompt suspicion.
Okay, one moment, please. Let me bring in Mr. George, who has been holding on for a while. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Yes, and greetings to the guests.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, I'm in support of the move of the governors. No governor that is worthy of his position will sit by and allow people to kill his people without protecting them. This issue of grazing, if there was no security problems with grazing and the movement of herdsmen, these people will not be raising concerns. After all, for a very long time, it has been the practice. They were in peace with farmers. It's when they started trouble with farmers, killing farmers and not allowing farmers to go to farm again, that it became a matter of concern. I do not agree with the government by insisting that the practice must remain. Where is a sector that is not bound to be developed? Must they be moving around? In other clients where we see these things practiced, when they are concentrated in one place and fed and well taken care of, they do better.
Yeah.
Why insisting that it must be the old way?
Okay.
That is one thing. We're bound to develop. We're bound to move forward. There's no governor that will sit by and see that herdsmen are killing his people and won't do anything. So I'm in support with what the governors are doing.
But Mr. George, as I said, yes, it's not just open grazing. There's also the matter of federalism, and there's also fiscal federalism and calls for state police. Did you have briefly
what
any thoughts on calls for state police?
Yes, the issues are separate from each other. I'm only talking about the one that concerns grazing. Where when you talk about state police, it's also part of security. It is obvious that the federal police cannot protect all the states. Okay. We have seen it now that the governors need to take control of some elements of security in their states. So I don't think it is out of place for states to be allowed to have their own police system, because they will be closer to the people, and the governor can take more responsibility about what happens there. Okay. Now, the lazy governors are claiming that it is because they are not in command. But we know of some states, really, like Lagos, who were able to collaborate with the federal government, spend money, and still get something out of it. Not every state will be able to do that. But let the state governors take responsibility. Let's test them.
All right.
There is nothing wrong in testing them.
Okay, then. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. We'll just take a break now. Please stay with us, Mr. Makpadero and Mr. Logun. We'll be right back. And we are still on with Mr. Yemi Makpadero, strategy and governance expert. He's with us remotely via Zoom. And Mr. Jide Ologun, lawyer and public affairs analyst in studio here. We're looking at the follow-up meeting, shall we say, of the southern governors, 17 of them. We've seen pictures of them arriving. Indeed, as I said, our man, Demola Lawrence, is there, and shortly we'll be able to get an on-site sort of account, but we've seen them arriving, and I imagine that in very short order they should begin their deliberations. There will no doubt this open grazing thing is probably going to be highest up on the agenda, but there also are matters like fiscal federalism and calls for state police, in addition to open grazing that will no doubt be spoken about. Now, the other thing is that those are the governors again. The other thing, of course, is that, look, people are going to be listening to commentary. First of all, they saw the governors' meeting. It was reported on in Asaba. We heard what all the issues were, and then we heard the reaction of the of Abuja. Quite frankly, we heard the reaction, and I began to wonder that, look, when a presidential spokesman began to speak of questionable legality of some of the resolutions, I said, look, but all of these states have attorneys general. There is knowledge. There's not knowledge is not exclusive to Abuja and the presidency. All these other people also have knowledge, but the fact that they were quick to come out with such language about some of their conclusions being of questionable legality, and then the Attorney General seemingly going against a main plank of this whole matter. Can we revisit this whole matter of open grazing and make it beneficial for all of us? If this is what has to be, then let's arrange for it to be so. You now say that one is like saying no more spare parts in the north. Therefore, actually almost like deriding it or whatever.
Uncle Yori, I spoke about public relations the other time, and I strongly suggest that the government should look in that direction. And public relations is the deliberate, planned, and sustained efforts to establish and maintain mutual understanding between an organization and its publics. Mutual understanding is critical.
Indeed.
What are we talking about here? It's about the engagement of national resources. I mean, just to simplify it, whether you are in the north or in the south, we have resources that we refer to as commonwealth. How can this commonwealth become a common good? And that is why there is need to sit down, listen to one another. But when we have a scenario now that the government structure that is supposed to enhance the fortunes of the people is obviously seen to be biased in efforts towards solving problems in the country. Then
I don't know about bias. Maybe we're still trying to understand their meanings, because there is no call for bias. There's no cause for bias.
There is no cause for bias. But we've been having bias. Okay. I'd like to present my case by way of evidence.
Indeed, you will. But let me quickly go to the venue of the event in Lagos here. Demola Lawrence. He's our man there, as I've said, and I believe we can speak with him now. Good morning, Demola.
Okay. Good morning, Larry.
Okay, so give us. We've seen Their Excellencies, the governors, walking in. Tell us when will it start and how is it going to be organized? How many days will the event last?
Okay. About 15 of them are already here. 15 of the governors of the 17 southern governors, and of course we have 12 governors here and three deputy governors.
That is not Yemima Padero. Just saying. Please continue. Please continue, Demola.
The meeting has already started. The chairman of the Southern Governors Forum, of course, with me, of Ondo State, just brief journalists, saying that the communique after the meeting will be communicated to journalists immediately they finish the meeting. But one thing that is of sacrosanct is the fact that they are going to follow up on the first phase of their meeting that they had in Asaba, which is of course the Asaba Accord. You remember the ban on open grazing, and of course the call for restructuring, which is of course the southern governors has put down their feet that these two things are paramount if the countries to move forward. So those are some of the issues, of course, that's going to be ironed out at this particular second phase of the Southern Governors Forum here in Alausa, Lagos State.
It's a one-day event? Is it just today?
For now, yeah, for now, the fillers we're still getting, it's just a one-day event. Of course, I'll get the info about if it's going to be tomorrow or the next tomorrow. But for now, what the fillers we're still getting is still just one day for now.
Okay. Well, I guess we're going to have to wait for the communique then, since they have started the meeting there. The meeting is effectively in session now, as you've said, right? The pictures we saw earlier. Demola, are you still with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, the pictures we heard and that we are seeing, for instance, these are much earlier pictures from today. I don't know if you just glimpsed them yourself. So these were not live pictures. We stated as much. And so this is underlined when you come on and say that actually the meeting has started. Never mind seeing governors walking in. They're not walking in right now. They are seated and they have actually begun business. And as you've informed us, following the conclusion, a communique will be released. Then we'll know what exactly they have said. Really, thank you very much, Demola. We just had to touch base with you, just in case there was anything else we needed to know. Thank you very much, Demola. Okay, so I had interrupted you, but also we had not heard from Yemima Padero in quite a bit. And what we were talking about was the matter of state police, right? Let me just get Yemi to also weigh in on this matter, because even as our Demola said there, it's not just free grazing. Fiscal federalism is also there. That's a big one, really. That's a very, very big one. But I mean, this whole matter of state police, the arguments for and against, that is when, as we have heard very, very much in conversations in recent times. Yemi, if you're still with us, do you have any comments on how we are going about this whole state police issue? Calls for it. I think there's a slight hitch.
I think the issue of state police is long overdue in Nigeria, and for me, really, it's not about just stopping at the level of state police. We should have local government police. Look, when the British came to Nigeria, the British colonialists, they studied the system. They discovered how vast Nigeria and how diverse Nigeria is, and they made sure that they came up with a convenient administrative structure, which has become popularly known as indirect rule, which made use of the local chiefs, to administer, the different areas of the protectorate at that point, and then the colony. So, as diverse as Nigeria is, there is no way that a centralized police, no matter how much you put into them, can address the issue of law and order, insecurity. For me, the state police is so strategic in the sense that it will not only resolve some of the other contending issues, which to me are actually minors. For instance, the issue of grazing or no grazing. Once there is a law that is passed, the police will be there to make sure that they enforce it. And this, nonsensical argument that local politicians will abuse the use of local police really does not hold water for several reasons. And one of the key reasons is the fact that the policemen will be people from the local community. People know them, they know the people know their families, they know their chiefs, they know their family heads. So it will be easier for such people to comport themselves and be as professional as possible.
Okay.
As someone who is posted to an area that is almost
I beg your pardon. Can I interrupt you for a moment because a call just came in? Good morning, Reverend Dominic. Reverend Dominic in Alimosho. Good morning. Okay.
Good morning, Yori. Good morning to your guest.
Indeed, thank you. Go ahead,
Yori,
please.
There is something I want to discuss that is my fear. Yori, for a nation to solve a problem, they must identify that issue as a problem. A nation, I mean the whole nation, maybe I say the government must identify this is a problem. But Yori, today we know that herdsmen farmers issue have divided Nigeria more than before. Our brothers in the north did not see it as a bad thing. Our brothers in the south saw it as bad. How can you govern a nation that way? It's most dangerous in this way, that the party in the center is APC. And the people that are coming to meeting today in Lagos State, some are the APC, some are the PDP. Why political parties struggle to get dominance in the center? They can put their policy forward no matter what you say. To me, if you ask me the answer to this issue, APC governors in the south are supposed to come together in the south and meet us together and meet their APC governors in the north and not take it to the president and they bring an executive order. Are we going to continue header farmers crisis by taking our cows from the north to the south? Are we going to build ranches? When they agree on this, we find a solution to it. But as long as there's no understanding what is wrong and right, the Kaduna governor that the L5 was saying that herdsmen are better than Nnamdi Kanu. How can you compare to evil to better and the good and the worst? Nnamdi Kanu activities is bad. Herdsmen, farmers and bandits is bad. We don't need to compare it. But when we need to compare the one is lesser and the higher evil, we can't come to consensus. We must come together to say, how long do we kill our farmers? How long do we feed cows against the will of man and yams and maize and potato? We must come to terms to say this is evil. Then we find solution to it. By the meeting we are having today, after they finish the meeting down, the northern governments will have their own. Either disagree or they agree. There's no way you can come to consensus until when you come a spade. That is one side. The state police, my question I ask every day, can we afford to hold policemen? Many governors today are owing 15,000, not even 30,000 minimum wage. If we put the burden of state police on the states, I will not compounding this issue. Could we afford to hold a man with AK-47? That's a question everybody should answer. Lagos can afford it. Can my state state afford that? Who is paying pensioners, owing workers for 6 months to 7 months? And you bring police to it with gun and hold them?
Okay.
You're the police.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dominic. Appreciate your calling in. Quickly to you first. The last point that Reverend Dominic made. How are you sure you can afford this?
It's very simple. You see, it's not just the state policing we're talking about here. We're talking about restructuring. The mineral resources are on the exclusive legislative list under the direct control of the federal government. So you imagine that Ondo State, for example, that has the second largest deposit of bitumen in the world, has the full prerogative to manage the bitumen, manage the oil and gas in Ondo State. Bayelsa State can manage her oil and gas, allocate the oil blocks to those who will bring value. We develop. Zamfara State has gold deposits
that
can earn about $2 billion per annum.
So
every part of this country is blessed. And those who think that cattle rearing is their unique selling point, then they invest in cattle rearing. We have examples around the world. Onkuyori, California is a state in the United States of America. It's about the 6th largest economy in the world. I think the police in California at the highest speed. We have banned Twitter. Twitter is domiciled in San Francisco in California, bringing billions of dollars into that community. So when we liberalize the system, and it's so obvious, and that's why I'm happy we're having all this.
Why I said
if we cannot fly together, then can we decide how to? This country is over-resourced. We need resourceful engagement. So I'm not afraid about all those symptoms of restructuring, sir.
And I said briefly, because the time you used, I would have wanted Yemi to also get in it. But I understand that Mr. Layinka has also called in, if I heard that right. Good morning, sir, Mr. Layinka. Okay, if Mr. Layinka is not ready, maybe I can go to Yemi. Yemi, the point was made that, look, in relation to Reverend Dominic's, worry about how do you finance all of this, Jide has said that, look, when all the separate cogs are working efficiently together, this shouldn't be a problem. Your take, please.
Look, my take in all of this is that we must admit one thing, and that is that the best bet that we have, for us to make progress in this country is to settle for incremental change. Now, while I was in the university, it was almost impossible to imagine that a time will come when you are going to have a president of Nigeria that will be from the southern part of this country. Then the issue of zoning as an idea came up. It was fought to a standstill by the North. But eventually, the issue of zoning has come to stay in Nigerian politics. Today, it doesn't have to be, nobody wrote it down anywhere. But people have come to the realization that iron sharpened iron, and that Nigeria is better together. And so everybody is willing to give something. But our approach of thinking that we can ask for something and get everything, it doesn't happen, even in business, even in family relations. So my advice is that we should just look back and look at those things that were hitherto impossible in Nigeria that have become commonplace today. And so I believe that the issue of fiscal federalism, the issue of state police, the issue of devolution of power, it's happening, but it is happening in an incremental basis. However, I will suggest that the National Assembly, and by extension the President, should listen to this. They should ensure that some of these things are enshrined in the Constitution. For instance, I have no problem with enshrining some, secession clause, in the Constitution. After all, there is a recall process in the Nigerian Constitution where you can recall your legislators. But it is there, but because the conditions are so stringent, it is impossible, maybe not impossible, but it will happen only when it becomes extremely important and popular. And so these are the things that we must settle for in a multicultural and diverse country like Nigeria, because we seem to make a mistake that whenever we have a kind of consensus in the corner that we occupy, we assume we are speaking for the entire country. But for me, as somebody who would go to the treetop and scan the environment, you must have some central petal forces must be in place that will ensure that people come together, to achieve a common goal, rather than everybody, threatening to go his own way. It will not happen until, this will not stop. All agitations will not stop until my family becomes a country.
Thank you very much, Yemi. I have to thank you very much. We've run out of time. Mr. Yemi Makpadiron, strategy and governance expert. Thank you very much for joining us today. And, last word from you. Yemi's point was that incrementally things are happening. And indeed that we're better off together anyhow, even though there might be all of these agitations. Maybe you could also wrap.
I just want to anchor my position on what you have in Section 17, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution as amended, that says that the platform of our coexistence shall be justice, equity, and freedom. And the moment we can allow justice, we begin to move on the path of peace. and prosperity, and that is just what Nigeria deserves.
I think that's a fine place to leave it, Mr. Jide Ologun, lawyer and public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for making time for us
Thank
today.
you, sir.
And indeed, thank you. Thank you also from home for contributing to the program. I know that, in fact, there were many calls that were coming in, but we couldn't take all the calls because the dictator time is very much at our back. So tomorrow will be another day. We'll be back, God willing, with a fresh edition of the program. I am Iyori Folare. Bye-bye for now.